Question 1. So 7 hundredths as a decimal is 0.07. So we've got the 7 in the hundredths column. So it's a calculator paper, so make sure you check your answer on your calculator if you're not sure. Question 2. Write down a multiple of 6 between 40 and 50. So something in the 6 timetable between 40 and 50. So 42, because 7 6 is a 42, or 48. Question 3. So 3f times 5g, well 3 5s are 15, so we've got 15 times f times g, so that's 15fg. Part B, t times t is t squared. Part C, well we can kick off by simplifying the numerator. 2n plus 6n is 8n, and then half of 8n is 4n. Question 4. So work out how many oranges Ken buys. So here are the weights of the fruits. Each orange has a weight of 90 grams. The fruit has a total weight of 1.785 kilograms. So let's see what he's bought. First of all, he's bought 4 apples weighing 125 each. So that in total is weighing 500 grams. 2 bananas weighing 170 each. So 2 lots of 170 is 340. And then 3 peaches weighing 135 each. 3 lots of 135 is 405. So that in total, when you add those 3 up, is 1245. Now the fruit weighed in total 1785 grams. Take away the 1245 grams, gives us 540 grams of weight left over. Given that each orange weighs 90 grams, how many oranges is in 540 grams? 540 divided by 90 is 6. Now the one bit that I did quite quickly then is just to change this 1.785 kilograms into grams. There are 1,000 grams in a kilogram. 1.785 times 1,000 was that 1785. So Jane wants to buy 15 tomatoes. She asks for 1 kilogram of tomatoes. Will she get 15 tomatoes? So let's go and do, she's asked for 1 kilogram, which is 1,000 grams. So 1,000 divided by 75, because each tomato weighs 75 grams each, means she can buy 13 and a bit tomatoes. So no, she will not get 15 tomatoes. If Jane's assumption is not correct, could she get 15 tomatoes? Justify your answer. Well, yes, if the tomatoes weigh less than she assumed, then it may well be that she 1,000 divided by a smaller weight of a weight of tomatoes might well mean she could get 15. So yes, if tomatoes weigh less than she assumed. Question 5. 60 students were asked how they get to school. Here are the results. What fraction of the students did not walk to school? Right, so who did not walk to school? Well, the 15 who came by bus, the 12 by car, and the 6 by bicycle. So adding those up, that is 33 students did not walk to school. So what fraction is that of the total? Well, there are 60 students in total. 33 out of 60 as a fraction is 33 over 60. Now for part B, we've got to complete the pie chart excuse me, for this information. So we know we've got 60 students. Now when we complete a pie chart, we're going to use up a full 360 degrees because there are 360 degrees about a point. So we need to proportionally spread these 60 students over 360 degrees. Now, how many 60s go into 360? Well, that's 6. You could do 360 divided by 60 to check. So each person is going to represent 6 degrees, because 6 lots of this gives me this. So I need to go along timesing each of these students by 6, giving me this number of degrees. So the secret was to proportion these up so that as a total we fill a circle exactly, we get 360 degrees. So the bus is 90 degrees as we knew. Using a protractor we will then measure 160 72 degrees for those students who walked. Then the car is 72 degrees, and just double check that you're left with the bicycle, which is 36 degrees. Now these bits in red I've just popped into the pie chart to help me with the explanation. For the purposes of your answer that you should give, it should just be the bits in blue. Question 6. So Annie and Lily share some money in the ratio of 4 to 3. So that's 4 shares for Annie, 3 for Lily. That's 7 shares in total. So what fraction did Lily get? Well, she got 3 out of 7, which is 3/7. Now Rosie and Dan share some sweets. Dan gets 1 out of 4. So set up your thought process. Rosie to Dan and in total. Now Dan is getting 1 out of 4. That means that Rosie must be getting the other 3. So the ratio of sweets that Rosie gets to Dan gets is 3 to 1. Question 7. Now Steve says there are more prime numbers between 20 and 30 than there are between 10 and 20. Is he right? We must show how we got our answer. So we're going to have to work out how many prime numbers between 20 and 30 and also between 10 and 20. Now remember, a prime number, the only way you can make a prime number when you times 2 whole numbers together is when it's multiplying 1 by itself. So how many prime numbers do we have between 20 and 30? Well, let's think about all the numbers in between. 21 isn't prime because 7 3s are 21. 22 is even, so that's always going to be divisible by 2. Now 23 is prime, because the only way you can get 23 is 1 times 23. 24 is even. 25, well, we've got 5 5s. 26 is even. 27, no, well, we've got 9 3s. 28 is even. And 29 is prime. That's the second prime number between 20 and 30. The only way you can get 29 is 1 times 29. Now, going through the same process for all the numbers between 10 and 20, 11 is prime, 12 is even, 13 is prime, 14 is even, 15 is divisible by 3, 16 is prime, no it isn't, 16 is even, I meant to say, 17 is prime, 18 is even, but 19 is prime. So we've got 4 prime numbers between 10 and 20, so no, Steve is not right, there are more prime numbers between 10 and 20. So question 8, write down one thing that is wrong with this graph. Well, the one thing that's wrong, if you look at the scale carefully, you can see they've made a mistake. We're trying to go up in tens, but they've gone 10, 20, straight to 40. So the vertical scale is non-linear, is not equal. Part B, describe the trend in the percentage of buses that got to the bus stop on time. Well, the trend is upwards, points are going upwards. So the trend is upwards, or you could have said a positive trend. Question 9. So we're told 1 centimetre represents 0.5 kilometres. Work out the real distance between the 2 villages. Now it's obviously hard to tell from my video, but if you were measuring it in the real paper, the length from Backley to Cremford was somewhere between 5.3 and 5.7. Those were the measurements that were allowed. So I measured it to be 5.5, but there's a little bit of leeway between the two. So any of those were allowed. You've then got to multiply this by a half. To convert centimetres to kilometres, we've got to halve the numerical value. So multiplying these extremes by a half, any answers would have been fine between 2.65 to 2.85. Now we've got to, for part B, find the bearing of Cremford from Backley. So you're doing the measurements from Backley. Now a bearing is the angle measured from north in a clockwise direction. So using your protractor, you can measure this angle to be 130 degrees. Again, there was a bit of leeway in the answer in the mark scheme, so anything between 128 to 132 was allowed. So question 10, find the area of shape P. Now, the easiest thing to do is just to appreciate, obviously, that this is a triangle, so don't try and count the parts squares. That's just not going to work. How do you work out an area of a triangle? It's half times base times height. The base here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and the height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is 12 centimeters squared. Don't forget the units. Now, what you could have done, you could have just popped a rectangle around the outside and realised that the area of that was 4 times 6, which is 24, and then just said, well, the triangle takes up half that area, so there's your 12. Now, part B, write down the mathematical name of quadrilateral Q. Well, this is a kite. So, question 11, we're being asked to express as a ratio the income from the FATE to the income from the quiz to the income from the membership fees, and to simplify this. So we need to work out the income from each of the three methods. So from the FATE, well, we're just told that that income is £250. Now from the quiz, we've got £5 entry fee with 13 people paying, so that's 13 lots of 5, which is 65. And then in addition, from the quiz, you've also got the refreshments of £35. So add that on to the 65. The total amount of money we got from the quiz is £100. Now from the membership fees, we've got 25 people paying £20 each, which is £500. So that is the ratio between the FATE and the quiz and the membership before we simplify. So it doesn't matter how many goes it takes you. I've noticed that they've all got a 0 on the end, so they're all divisible by 10. So I've started off just by dividing each of them by 10, and then I can see they've either got zeros of 5 on the end, so they're divisible by 5. So I've divided these 3 here by 5, giving me a ratio in its simplest form of 5 to 2 to 10. Question 12, we're being asked to complete the frequency tree. So we've got 200 people 200 people to start with. We're told that 23 do not have a garden. So that 23 we've just slotted in here. So if 23 do not have a garden, the rest must have a garden. So you work out this one by doing 200, take away the 23, which is 177. Now the next fact I'm told is that 10 males do not have a garden. So of these 23 people who do not have a garden, 10 of them are males. We're given that. So therefore the rest of the people who do not have a garden, the rest of the people of this 23 must be females. So 23 take away 10 is this 13 here. Now, the next fact I know is 95 people are male in total. Now, I've had 10 males up here, so the rest of the males must be the males down here. So I've worked this one out by doing 95 take away the 10, which is 85. Now, finally, if that's the number of males who do have a garden, then the number of females who do have a garden must be the 177, take away the 85, which is 92. Now, we're now told, you've got to read this carefully, one of the people who does not have a garden is chosen at random. So we're choosing out of these 23 people who do not have a garden. So that is our denominator, that's the number on the bottom. Now, what is the probability that out of these 23 we choose a female? Well, that's 13 out of 23. Okay, so we've got to show that Ellie's hourly rate of pay is more than Reese's. So we need to work out each of the hourly rates of pay, don't we? So Ellie makes at least 17 hats per hour, and she is paid 46p for each hat. So turning 46p into pounds, that's £0 and 46p. And she makes 17 hats, so 17 lots of 0.46 is £7.82 per hour for Ellie. Now Reese earns £266 for working 35 hours. So how much is his hourly rate of pay? How much does he make per hour? We have to do 266 divided by 35, which is £7.60 per hour. So Ellie has £7.82 per hour, Reese has £7.60, so we've shown that Ellie's hour rate of pay is higher. Question 14a. Well, now we're told A and B are odd numbers. Give an example to show that the value of 2 lots of a plus b is a multiple of 4. So we've got to give any examples, so we can select any 2 odd numbers we like. For example, a is 1 and b is 3. So a is 1, b is 3, so that's 1 add 3, which is 4. 2 lots of 4 is 8. So 8 is a multiple of 4, so we have shown this by example. Now for part B, show that when a and b are both odd numbers, the value of 2a plus b will always be a multiple of 4. Well, the point here is that a plus b is always going to be even, because an odd number plus an odd number is even. Now if you double an even number, by definition this must be a multiple of 4, because you've now got 2 2's of 4. So it must be a multiple of 4. Question 15. Now I find these long-winded questions are ever so difficult, so well done if you made your way through this. So try and break it down into a bit of a table to help you. So in terms of litres of oil, at the beginning of November there are 1,000 in the tank. Now we're told that he bought enough oil to fill the tank completely. Now he paid £750 to do this, and it was 50p per litre. So a pound is going to buy 2 litres, so £750 is going to buy 1,500 litres. In other words, we've done 750 divided by 0.5 pounds. So once he bought that extra oil, that filled the tank, and it filled it up to 2,500 litres. So the full tank is 2,500 litres. Now by the end of February he only had 600 left. So how much has he used? He's used 1,900, being the 2,500 less how much he's left with. Now we're told that he goes and buys enough to fill it up again. So he's going to buy another 1,900 litres. 1,900 litres. Now, how much did he pay for that? Well, the cost of oil has increased by 4%. So it was 50p to start with, but 4% is 4 out of 100. So that would be 2p out of 50. So his new price of oil is going to be 52p per litre. Or another way of working out the 52p, 4% means we have a multiplier of 1.04. 50 times 1.04 is again 52p, or in other words 0.52 pounds. So he's having to buy another 1,900 litres to fill the tank up, costing 52p a litre. That's a total cost of £988. Question 16. So we kick off by multiplying out the brackets. So we have the double claw. 3 times x is 3x, 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. Now we want to get all our x's onto the same side, and it's easier to take them onto the side that's got the greatest number of x's to start with, which is our left hand side, 5x bigger than 3x. So we're going to undo this 3x here by minusing 3x from both sides. So on the left, when we take away 3x, we're left with 2x minus 6. And on the right, when we've taken away the 3x, we're just left with the minus 3. So we've got all our x's on the left hand side. We now need to get all our normal numbers onto the right. So how do we undo a minus 6? We add 6 to both sides, giving us 2x equaling 3. Because minus 3 add 6 is plus 3. So how do we make x a subject? How do we undo this timesing by 2? We divide by 2. So x equals 3 over 2, or 1.5, or 1.5. So question 17. Emily buys a pack of 12 bottles costing £5.64. She sells all of the bottles at 50p each. So let's go and see how much money she made. What money did she have coming in? Well, she sold all 12 bottles at 50p each, so that brings in £6. Now the bottles cost her £5.64, so her actual profit is £6, take away the £5.64, which is 36p, or £0.36. Now how do you work out percentage profit? You divide the profit itself by your cost, and multiply this by 100 to turn it into percentage. So it's 0.36 divided by the 5.64 times this by 100 gives us 6.382 dot dot dot. So to one decimal place, our percentage profit is 6.4%. Question 18. So the diameter is 80 meters and there are 8 points equally spaced. Find the distance between one point and the next point. So we're basically, to start off, we need to work out what the circumference of the circle is, the distance all the way around the outside. Circumference equals pi times the diameter, so that's pi times 80, which is 80 pi. Now, these are spread evenly with 8 spaces, so the gap between each of these is going to be 80 pi divided by 8, which is 10 pi. Pressing the SD button, we can see that that's roughly 31.415 dot dot dot. So to, for example, one decimal point, the answer would be 31.4. Now for part B, Hasmeet walks once round the circle again, but now all the points have moved. So the question here is the mean distance between the points changed? Well, it won't have done. At the end of the day, the total distance travelled is still going to be, the circumference is still going to be 80 pi, and the number of points you're going to be dividing by to work out the mean is still going to be the 8. So the mean distance will be unchanged as the total distance, and the number of points is unchanged. Question 19. So with these, you really want to try and figure out which is the smallest number of cubes, and that's going to be the yellow cubes. So choose to let the number of yellow cubes equal x. Now we're told there is twice as many blue cubes as yellow cubes, so the number of blue cubes will be 2x. And then we're told the number of green cubes is 4 times the number of blue cubes. So the number of green cubes is going to be 4 lots of the blue, which is 4 lots of the 2x, which is 8x. So how many cubes have we got in total? We've got x yellow, 2x blue and 8x green. Adding those three together, that is 11x. Now what's the probability of selecting a yellow cube? Well, that's going to be 8 out of 11x. The x's cancel because really this is 1x over 11x, which is 1 over 11. Question 20. Now to rotate the shape, we're going to use tracing paper. So get your tracing paper out, and we're tracing about the rotating about the origin. So put the tracing paper over T and over the origin. And then my tip to you would be put a little arrow drawing it up. It helps with the rotation. So you've drawn around the shape T, put the pencil as a pivot on the origin and turn the shape around until the arrow is now pointing downwards, and then this is where the shape will have moved to. So press through the tracing paper and double check your answer, and that will be where it's rotated to. Now part B, translate the shape. Now that means shift the shape 1 to the left and 3 down. So take a point of your choice, shift that 1 to the left and 3 down. So our top left hand point is there. Fill in the shape accordingly. So that is our shape B. Question 21. So with part A, when we multiply, we add the powers. So 3 add x equals 9. So x must be 6. Now when we have a power inside a bracket and a power outside the bracket, these are multiplied together. So 2y equals 10, so y must equal 5. Now for part C, we need to appreciate that 100 is 10 squared and 1000 is 10 cubed. So just like up here where we said where you've got a power inside the bracket and outside you multiply, we can then say, well, 2 times A is 2A and 3 times B is 3B. And when we multiply, we add the powers. So that's going to be 2a add 3b equaling w. So w equals 2a plus 3b. So question 22. Now, to gather our thoughts on this, we need to really drop down this perpendicular line here to help us break this shape down into sort of simple shapes so we can sort of see our way around it, to sort of see our approach. Now, clearly this length going down here is going to be 6 because it's the other side of the rectangle. Now, we've got to work out the size of the angle CDA, so this angle here, which I'm calling X. Now, in order to do this, we're going to need to know a couple of sides of this triangle here. It's pretty difficult to work out the length CD, so we can focus on trying to work out this length here that I'm going to call Z. Because once we know these two sides, we can then use trigonometry to work out the angle. Now, what I know is I know the whole length from A to D is 24. I know this length here must be 10, but this is the same as BC. So if I can work out this little length here, which I'm going to call Y, then I can easily work out what Z is, because the three lengths together add up to 24. So let's just focus now on the triangle from A to B down to here, where I've got a side and I'm trying to work out another side, and I'm working out one of the shorter sides. So this is going to be a taking away Pythagoras. So 7.5 squared minus 6 squared equals y squared. Now that's 20.25. We square root this, so we know the length of y is 4.5. We can now work out z, because it's going to be 24 minus 10 minus the 4.5, which is 9.5. So this length here is 9.5, this length here is 6. Now, using trigonometry, we know the opposite and the adjacent side. So tan x equals our opposite side of 6 divided by our adjacent side of 9.5. Inverse tanning both sides, we get x equaling inverse tan 6 over 9.5. Pop that into our calculator, we get 32.275 ... which to one decimal place is 32.3. Question 23. Now, using your calculator, make sure you use the fractions button, which is the third down on the left, where we have one rectangle divided by the other rectangle. That should make these fairly straightforward. So do square roots, open up that fractions button, then fill in the numerator and then the denominator, and you'll get 2.75603957. Now, to two decimal places, well, we need two numbers after the decimal point. So a 7 and a, is it going to be 5 or do we round up? Well, we round up because the next one is 5 or above. So this is going to be 2.76. Now, question 24. So for part A, you just got to make sure you do this in the right order. So we start off by dividing by 2. So we're left with x squared equaling 36. Now just be careful now when you square root 36. This gives us two possible solutions, plus 6 or minus 6, because minus 6 times minus 6 is 36, as well as 6 times 6 being 36. So you do need to pick up both solutions here. Now for part B, we multiplying out a pair of brackets, we do the two claws on top and the two claws below. So 2x times 3x, 2x times minus 2, 1 times 3x and 1 times minus 2. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared, 2x times minus 2 is minus 4x, 1 times 3x is plus 3x, and 1 times minus 2 is minus 2. So we've expanded. We now need to simplify by gathering the like terms. Now the only like terms here are the x's in the middle. So our final answer is 6x squared. Now minus 4x add 3x is minus 1x, or minus x. And then we have our minus 2. Now, to factorise this, you need to follow the process of appreciating when it's an x squared and some x's and a numbers, that our brackets are going to comprise a pair of brackets with x being the first term, because x times x will give us the x squared. Now, how do we work out these two numbers here? So these two numbers here will multiply to be the number on the end, which is plus 9, and at the same time will add to be the plus 6. So what two numbers multiply to make 9 but add to be 6? Well, that's 3 and 3, plus 3 and plus 3. So our factorised version of this is x plus 3, x plus 3. Alternatively, you could have said x plus 3 all squared, because that's what this is.